Hello, Gregor Arturo here with the Prometheus Initiative, and I'm glad to get back to work. I've had a more than a week-long trip up to Sudan where tons of synchronistic things happen. One being is I'm going to be getting the phone number to Nassim Haramein. Met one person who's personal friends with him, and so hopefully I'll be able to contact him and discuss some of these ideas with him, and hopefully something can manifest. A few other things happen. I made a contact up there who was also personal friends with Ian Lungold up at our ranch. Ian had his last lecture there before he passed away. Ian Lungold did research with the Mayan calendar and the Mayan language and interpreted it metaphysically and mathematically in terms of how the Mayan calendar relates to our reality, and that it's interpreting it in terms of fractal experiences. Really good stuff. He has I think an 8-hour lecture, I know it's long, online, might be 4 hours, it's long, online, talking about his work. Really details his calendar. And actually, person Walker, she picked me up, me and Claudia, on the road, and we ended up at her house. Whole synchronistic story behind that. I might talk about that in another video that's not with Prometheus. But the Nassim Haramein, big connect right there. Hopefully something can manifest. There's also, Walker's going to introduce me to David, I can never say his name, I got it right here, David Hatcher Childress, who wrote a bunch of books, and he has Adventures Unlimited, publishing this book, one book I'm reading right now, The Harmonic Conquest of Space, which talks about the grid system of the planet, which I thought was a little synchronistic, being able to see vortexes in Sedona, which is all interrelated. And she's also going to introduce me to a Tesla scientist in Sedona. And, well, yes! Things are going to start, hopefully, collaboration. Collaboration! Woohoo! Okay, so I started working on something right before I left. I made some videos, but I'm going to scrap those videos, and I started from scratch because these ideas keep changing. But I started making a Rodin coil. Here we go. It was half of it, with 25 quartz crystals laid on it, because I wanted to do 5, it's basically 5 spheres of rotation, so you fractalized it, so there are 5 little spheres, almost. Well, take a little close look, you can see each little sphere, there'd be 5 in it, you could have 5 more little spheres inside, which the quartz crystals are representing. And I realized actually today, I was about to go make the second half of the mold for it, that this whole thing is going in water, and to make it spin, it's going to be a little heavy, and to try to overcome friction, we're going to use gravity to our advantage with density. So I started making this guy. It's about halfway through the process. This is hot glue sticks glued together with 5 quartz crystals on the outside. It's going to get a lot bigger. About that, the quartz crystals are supposed to be at the halfway point from one edge to the other, so the wall is going to go about this big, and then I'm going to sand it down to try and get the dimensions as best as possible in terms of being nice and circular and smooth. And I only put 5 crystals in this one because this one's a little bit smaller, because I calculated in terms of the wire I'm using 17 gauge aluminum wire, and so in terms of how much I can put the wire through the inside, in terms of making it all fit. So, why I chose hot glue, why I switched last second to use hot glue. One, hot glue is diamagnetic, which is the big thing, and quartz crystals is diamagnetic, and quartz crystals are also quartz crystals, there's a lot about them. They vibrate at 2 to the 15th frequency, which is, take me 1 second, 2 to the 15th, I just remember this number, 32,768 hertz. You can play that frequency, the quartz crystals will vibrate. And so it's also an octave of C, a perfect octave of C. So 256 hertz, 128. People use memory on their computers, might be very familiar with that. And I'm going to be making a Rodin Coil Capacitor. It's going to involve hot glue for the coil with 5 quartz crystals as seen, aluminum wire with the 2 circuits, and there is going to be an invisible circuit, which I used to argue that the circuit can't be invisible, it needs to be something, and air wasn't the best thing, and air isn't the best thing. I'm going to be using water. But distilled water. Distilled water being, it's pure. It's the purest type of water you can get, unless you get ultra pure distilled. And when you run current through water, people are usually familiar with the notion of electrolysis, where it separates water into its two main components, oxygen and hydrogen. Well, actually, little known fact, water is a huge insulator, an amazing capacitor, a high K capacitor, around 80 K in terms of the measurement. If you want to go read about that and understand it, you can go understand capacitors. It's one of the most natural high K capacitors around, and it's water. Go figure. And usually with electrolysis, it's the impurities in the water, such as iron, which is conductive, and also salt. Seawater is a million times more conductive than distilled water. And that's what makes water to be able to be electrolyzed. It's really hard to electrolyze water if it's distilled. So that's what I'm going to be using. And basically, you're going to have two sequences of wire, two currents. One's going to be positively charged, one's going to be negatively charged. And the wire is going to be your dielectric. So the aluminum wire represents the doubling circuits. But one's going to be positively charged, one negatively charged. And the water is going to be your dielectric, so it'll be polarized in the opposite direction. And the whole idea is to create a gravitational pull. And we're going to do counterclockwise direction, so we're going to work with the Earth's rotation. At the same time, water is also diamagnetic. It's a liquid diamagnetic. So you're using these multiple properties at the same time, and it's going to create a repulsive force in the opposite direction. So I'll leave it at that, and hopefully when I come back, we will have something really cool to show you, and this will be all done. Oh, so yeah, laying the tubes together, I just glued them together, and then I stuck the 5 quartz crystals on the outside, and I'm going to keep working my way around it. Okay, awesome. Ciao.